We saw two games on Tuesday night in Bloomington separated by a locker room break with orange slices. It was all Indiana in the first half. Hoosiers built a double-digit lead. Back came Nick Martinelli and the Northwestern Wildcats, outscoring IU by 13 in the second half and perhaps getting away with that foul on Tucker DeVries at game's end. Northwestern over Indiana 72-69. Hoosiers have now dropped 3 in a row. In those 3 games, losing by an average of 18 per. Obviously, this one much closer. But their rebound per game differential has gone absolutely the wrong way, as has their defensive efficiency and intensity during those 3 games. The opposition shooting nearly 52% from the field and better than 37% from three-point range. Andy, got to give a lot of credit to Chris Collins, Nick Martinelli, and Northwestern. They have not quit on their season, even though they're playing for pride at this point. I think the bigger story, though, is what is happening with Indiana. 3 games ago, this seemed like a team very comfortably in the tournament field in year 1 under Darren DeVries. It's a very different story as we awake on Wednesday morning.
Yeah, I mean, they're now in this group of teams with Ohio State, USC. Now UCLA has moved above this group that need wins. They're going to need to win a game or 2 in the Big Ten tournament and hope that other things sort of play out around the country. The one thing we have to keep in mind, and I know Mike DeCourcy's talked about this a lot, is not everyone's in a silo. It's compared to everything else. And the good news for the Big Ten is that the Big East is probably only getting 3 teams. And so that means other spots for other leagues like the Big Ten. So I'm not ready to write them off. They've got games left in the Big Ten tournament, certainly. But to feel good about themselves, they're going to have to win a couple here down the stretch because of what has transpired. They've lost some games that they shouldn't. They ran into a Purdue team, even though it was at Mackey, at the wrong time, because Purdue desperately needed to sort of get some revenge after the way they'd been playing. So the timing's not great. Their defense has fallen off. But to your also point about Northwestern, I think they deserve a ton of credit. And I know we'll say this about Washington too. When the men's coaches decided to make sure there are 18 in the tournament, the women decided to stay at 15. What changed there is this Tuesday situation. No one wants to play on Tuesday. You want to play on Wednesday. So now there's legit competition to avoid Tuesday. And you're trying to do that in the final 2 weeks to give yourself a little tiny bit of hope if you can play on Wednesday versus Tuesday. And we're seeing that sort of hunger to avoid having to play on that first day. It's real, and these players are definitely trying to accomplish that.
I think we also saw on Tuesday night how small the margin for error is for all of these teams playing at this time of the year. Listen, we all make mistakes. There's no question about it. You could be on one side or the other based on the teams that you root for, but when you go back and watch the video, and I'm not trying to call out certain officials, they missed the call. They clearly missed the call on Tucker DeVries. It can't be reviewed. There is no recourse for Darren DeVries or Indiana. It's a loss regardless. But at the end of the day, Andy, that was a foul.
So let me look here. Okay, there you go. There's your content. The first angle, I think you could say, the first one you showed, you can't see it, but the official's right there. I will say this. I'm hopeful that they will tweak the review rules. What has happened so far, I think has been good for the game, and it has sped it up a little bit. But I do think it needs tweaks. I think there needs to be more that you can review, certainly in the last 2 minutes. And this is a great example that officials are human. And if you just want to get the call right, even if it takes a couple of extra, seconds, minutes, whatever it is. And so that is something I think that the rules committee really needs to look at in the offseason.
I completely agree with you. I know the WNBA allows coaches to make foul challenges. Perhaps it's something that will be in the conversation in the offseason. All right, let's touch on the Washington-Rutgers game. And for me, and certainly for Rutgers defensively, this came down to one man, 2 names, and a future NBA star in Washington's Hannah Steinbach.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a buzz for him for a reason. If he decides to come out, he's a lottery pick. And we're seeing more and more his ability to play at both ends of the court, to affect around the basket. He's a double-double machine, just such a great touch. I mean, look at his size. You're just not going to get in front of him. And, it just took him a while to get adjusted to the American game. and he's really flourishing right now for Washington. You know, much like USC, it's not really fair to judge both these programs because they aren't what they said they were going to be because of injuries. I mean, think about this. If Steinbach was playing like this and Desmond Claude and Wesley Yates were healthy the whole season and Frank Kepnog was as well, who didn't play last night, or Lathan Somerville, who did play last night against his former team, who didn't earlier. I mean, if all 5 of those guys had played and were healthy, then Washington would be in contention for a bid. You know, if USC had Rodney Rice, Elijah Arenas, and Chad Baker-Mazara all healthy at the same time, they would be on the good side of the bubble. But injuries happen.
Hey, those are the hypotheticals, right? If, as they relate to foul calls, if, as they relate to injuries, every coach knows it's part of the game, and every coach also knows there is no other coach or no other team in the country that's feeling bad for anybody dealing with injuries because they have all been part of that conversation at one point, if not this season, at one point in their careers.